welcome, welcome. Yep, it's always a bit of a scramble to get the show going. It's amazing how that happens. But that's what live TV is, a struggle for many to do. And then it's a challenge for others and sheer joy for others. For me, it's a lot of the above. But what it's led me to is amazing, absolutely amazing. Pizzagate is, along with the spying of the Trump campaign by the federal government, those are the two scandals, along with global warming, the hoax of global warming, that are just that have to come to light. The Podesta brothers, clearly, there's something up with those guys. Tony Podesta, how he received complete immunity from the Mueller team on a Russian investigation of President Trump, they're covering for that Podesta brother big time, big time. So Tony Podesta, we can do a little deep dive into him and his activities in the afternoon show. But he just feels and looks evil, and he has way too much power. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of power, so much so that his actions, he got complete immunity from the Mueller team for a lot of obvious illegal activity that he did, so much so that he had to resign from his lobbying firm that bears his name. That dude is super shady, and his brother as well. And if they're linked to pedophilia like it looks like they are, we got to do some work in D.C., folks. We have got to do some work in D.C. There are too many coincidences to just keep turning our head the other way. And the big scandal here, especially, is the loss of children to pedophiles. Somehow pedophilia has become okay in the United States of America. Somehow the federal government has lost sight of its most precious citizens. Just because you're a child does not mean you're a citizen and you're without rights and protections. So if you go missing as a child, that should be considered murder. That should be investigated by the murder team. The most talented and the most savvy detectives should be assigned to those missing children cases, because those are going to lead to murder. So there's a fluctuating number between 800,000 and 460,000 children reported missing every year. Thankfully, most are returned to their homes. But roughly 50 to 60,000 every year are not. And this is every year. 50 to 60,000 are not being returned to the homes. And that's just in the United States of America. Worldwide, the numbers are just shocking. And you just don't even know worldwide. You really do not know. But the number of missing children that are never found is shocking. And these children just don't go missing. They are being abducted and consumed by pedophiles. They're being harvested. Somehow, this is nuts, okay? So if you go to jail and you're a pedophile, your life is at risk. But in regular America, the push for people to accept pedophiles is disgusting. Pedophiles have logos. Did you know that? Do you know what this Nazi symbol looks like? All right. Do you know what the pedophile symbol looks like? Do you know they're divided into boys and little boys, and then girls, and then all the above? We should know. We should know these symbols. We should be on not only the lookout for them, but this is who Antifa should be attacking. Children's lives matter. The innocent children's lives matter, and they're doing the most heinous, ugly, brutal things to them. This should be front page news constantly. The problem with pedophiles. But starting during the Clinton administration, prior to the Clinton administration, America was tough on crime. America was strong with the police. It was pretty awesome America to live in the pre-Clinton time. And then in the Clinton years, 80s, 90s, good times. But then the creeps started to come in to the mainstream media, and already been in Hollywood. Hollywood had already been taken over by pedophiles and kinksters of other stripes. A lot of fetishes go on in Hollywood and Los Angeles. So you can already see in many of the movies there that pedophilia was nice and strong, but it got into DC. And it got into the mainstream media. 6 corporations run 90% of our mainstream media. And all of those 6 are connected. And I've got to think, I hate to say it, but I think it's an occult group that has managed to, Jeffrey Epstein. That's all I can say is Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is the proof in the pudding of the power of the pedophile in Washington, D.C. The power of the pedophile is impressive. Because Washington, D.C. protected Jeffrey Epstein, and Washington, D.C. killed Jeffrey Epstein, assassinated him. He was assassinated because he knew too much. Way too much. So you got to be able to flash badges to get to where this assassin assassinated Jeffrey Epstein. You got to flash badges. You got to flash badges. Flash badges. And so they assassinated him. But the paper trail's still there. So if you look at the Jeffrey Epstein papers from the FBI that they were able to release and are heavily redacted, and the newspaper articles that came out, especially local articles, none of this stuff was covered in the mainstream media. The local newspapers that covered the Epstein story is bewildering that the man did not serve many more years in prison. I'll go into that also later on this afternoon on my deep dive. But Jeffrey Epstein was a very, very, very sick man, a pedophile of the highest order, And the things he did in basic public pale in the comparison to the things he did in private and overseas. And he made his money by being a very, very, very high-end pimp to pedophiles and fetishists. So he was president of a billionaire boys club. He would arrange encounters for very wealthy people and keep everything very discreet. He had that kind of power. He had that kind of influence. He could get to the Bill Clinton. He could get to the Podestas. Bill Clinton didn't matter. Bill Clinton was just a name drop. The people with the power were the Podestas. And of course, John Podesta's nickname is the Fixer. So if heat started to come on to Epstein, he'd put a call into the Podestas, and that heat would be taken off. A lot of heat would be taken off of the highest orders. So these people that the Podestas are obviously connected with, it's not just political. It's sexual. Sex, 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 sex. And the more depraved the sex, the more enticing it is to a set group of elitists. And as I explained yesterday, pedophiles who can hide their hunger are some of the best public image leaders because they just don't have any scandals. They don't have any sex scandals. They don't have any they don't have any sex scandals. They don't have any party scandals. They don't have any drug scandals. They don't have any scandals. They're not cheating on their spouse. They're not getting with hookers because none of that interests them. The stuff that interests the newspapers and the scandal journals, that doesn't interest them because their fetish is far deeper and darker, and has to be catered to. And if you got that much money and you have that big of a want, there's going to be people that are going to satisfy it to the tune of 50,000 children in the United States of America alone a year. So these fetishists, these children that are kidnapped, are not kidnapped for a local pedophile. These children that are kidnapped, for the most part, are kidnapped by a very well orchestrated, well funded ring of people, where they can have kidnappers work for them 24, as a career. These kidnappers have a career of kidnapping children. Why isn't that being investigated by the federal government? Because these children are obviously crossing state lines. Why isn't it a priority of every state government to crack these pedophile rings? We have the technology to do so. It's because they're being protected. They're being protected. They've placed key people, these elite pedophiles, in all the key places to cause failure for all of these children finding organizations and the law enforcement agencies set up to bust them. You know, the Amber Alerts and all that stuff is fine. And you know, your police departments that are good, honest, hardworking police departments, pedophiles know those. Pedophiles know those police departments well. Avoid them, stay away from them, stay away from those states. But they know where to go harvest children, these kidnappers. They know what they're doing, they know how to do it, they do it quick. And they're organized crime. And we have organized crime syndicates. We're able to bust the mafia, for goodness sakes. We're able to put the Klan out of business. But yet somehow we can't manage to protect our most youngest citizens that have probably the most rights, more rights than an adult. Why? Because they are being protected at the highest levels. And that's what the Q Army and the Q are helping to bust. You know, and it was shocking to me yesterday to see that 7 people had given thumbs down on protecting children. Man, if there's one thing that we should be able to unite on, is protecting children. But challenging me on these facts, and oh my God, 50,000, that's just in America, with one of the best. We got police everywhere in America. It's crazy. If you've been to America, police have guns all over the place. So even with that much power of police presence, 50,000 children are still kidnapped and taken in sex trafficking around America. And, you know, I'm going to guess that in pedophile circles that American children are like, I don't know, premium. So these children are kidnapped, taken across state lines, and taken out of the country many times. But many times also they're consumed here, and we never find their bodies. I mean, these people that are doing this stuff are well funded and very well organized, guys. The only reason this is not a top priority in Washington, D.C. and Hollywood is because Hollywood has taken up every banner. Trees, anything, any virtual signaling that they can do, they're doing it. Except for pedophiles. Hollywood will never attack pedophiles. Hollywood will never put the heat on pedophiles. There's only one reason, and that's because pedophiles are running Hollywood. Or as many say, pedo would. And I've heard that all my life. You know, there's things you see suspect, but when you actually think about it, and then you go into the numbers, and then you find out all the innuendo of pizza and what it represents, and then you see it in emails of the Podestas, and totally lacking the proper context, and then you go down the rabbit hole. And start leaking the information, and then boom, Wayfair just hits you right between the eyes. And nothing from DC. No outrage from Hollywood. The fact checking that the mainstream media does, that the newspapers the local newspapers that are covering it, that they called the fact checkers, there's not one fact check. All they're doing is reading what it says on the website and laughing at it, mocking it, and not making one effort to verify the fact that you have missing children's names assigned to cheap cabinetry and at similar prices between $12,000 and $14,000. It's obvious to anybody else except if you're on the left and a Marxist, because your hate of the Constitution, constitutionalists, conservatives prevents you completely from looking at anything of the truth anymore. That's how effective the brainwashing is. That's how effective the Matrix is. That's how powerful the Matrix is. But yet, you know, it takes a person to see a ripple in the Matrix and then start to pull at the thread of the Matrix, and then finally be at a point where they have to take either the blue pill, ignore what they know, or take the red pill and see what they're actually seeing. And those that have taken the red pill, those members of the queue, doesn't take much at all. It's right there. The breadcrumbs are many and fantastical. Cat alert. Emma, what are you doing? Cat. That's my cat, Emma. She's not actually my cat. She was left behind by her owner, and Emma's 14 years old. I've had her for 8 months now, so we get along good. She's got her ways, and I bend to her ways and her will. So, gonna look into Podesta more this afternoon, and all of the newspaper articles about him and Epstein and all the media on him, and follow the breadcrumbs. That's what we do here in the Breadcrumbs Project. And I present the evidence that I present. It's up to you to do your own research. I'm not here to convince you. We're just following breadcrumbs. So, if you're okay with 50,000 children in America being consumed a year as an American, that's sick. I don't know what country you're in, but I'm sure there's national statistics of children kidnapping under 18 that are never found again, nor their bodies. What do you think happened to those people? Why are you asking me for proof? You should be demanding more from your country, but maybe your country is like my country, managed and run by pedophiles. Worse, pedophiles that are cannibals, that eat human flesh, that eat the flesh of children. And that's the only way that the people that are in control can maintain control, that all of the people that they associate with share the equal fetishes that they share, that can never be seen in public. So they all are under a very close ball of secrecy and protection because of their sexual perversions. And that is a tie that binds tightly. That ties tighter than anything else. Fetishists are the ones that are able to maintain a closed network and are able to make a decision without people being associate the two. You know? How would Epstein be connected to the Podesta brothers? And how would Epstein, who's a New York billionaire, be highly connected with the Me Too guy, Harvey Weinstein? They're fetishes. They're wants, they're connections. And then also the power, chasing that money. Because it is often said that inside those dark, deep uh, cannibals who engage in pedophilia. The power and money in there is ridiculous. And you glow with money and power once you enter that dark circle, such as Epstein. Epstein's very representative of it. And once you get into those circles and once you see those connections, you know, you can see how it all happens. The birds you're hearing are seagulls, by the way. It's a seagull breeding season, and the babies are out, and the parents are all screaming and hollering at them. But that's what's happening. And the degradation of our society, and our society by being at each other's throats, is orchestrated by these pedophiles, especially the cannibalistic pedophiles, so that they can get away with their harvesting of children while they created Marxism, a very wonderful for them cultural Marxism, and a race-based Marxism that America is going to take a long time to recover from. But before we can do that, we've got to get the pedophiles. We've got to get the pedophiles, and we have to get the pedophiles that are in charge. We have to get the pedophile cannibals that are the puppet masters. That's what's happening. Pizzagate is real. It's heavy. It is heavy. The way to stay away from all that stuff, as far as leading your life, is think good thoughts, do good deeds, say good things. You'll lead a good life. I don't know I know when we stopped protecting the children was when the Clintons became in charge. All right, guys. See you this afternoon, 1 o'clock.